Hello, everyone. My name is Shailesh, and welcome to session 14 of Financial Statement Analysis series by Finacle Shah Classes. Today, we are going to talk about how to analyze revenues again based on sources. Now, we have actually taken a look at quite a lot of angles in our previous readings. In session number 13, we actually saw how to analyze revenues based on segmental information, which, by the way, is a mandate by accounting standards under new accounting standards for companies to actually disclose that information. However, at the same time, there's another mandate by accounting standards for companies to disclose where exactly they are selling their final products or services. Now, that is geographical segmental information. Now, analyzing revenues from a geographical segmental information can be important from various perspectives. For example, we saw that identifying who your customer is so important because your customer's growth is eventually driving your business's growth, because at times you may be anchored onto your customer's growth, and if your customer is growing, so is the demand, and likewise your business might be growing because of that. Which is where at the same time there are certain geographical locations, or your customer's geography may also be of huge importance in analyzing drivers of revenue. To explain that, in fact, we will be taking a couple of examples here. So let's first start with the first case study of today, which is Ajanta Pharma. Now, when you open the annual report of Ajanta Pharma, annual report 2021, you have it in front of your screen. Let me zoom in a bit so that you are able to read this. Now, this is again part of the segmental information. When you take a look at the geographical segmental information, you will find that there are 4 segments through which they have defined. Once again, we have studied what exactly external customers mean. So for viewers who are watching this video but haven't taken a look at our previous reading, which was session 13, I request you to please take a look at that video before you begin with this, because you will be able to understand what exactly segment is, and based on that you can actually top up your learning through this session. All right, so I'm sure everyone is aware of, after taking a look at session number 13, everyone is aware of what exactly revenue from external customers mean. Now, what you see here are 4 segments, geographical segments: India, emerging market, Africa, institution, and then there is USA. Now, in this case, when we take a look at geographical segmental information, in terms of Africa institution, it might give out a picture what exactly it means. So at times you may have to do a bit of research in terms of understanding what these individual line items mean. You can either find this information in company's annual report, and at times you can also find this information in company's website, on company's website. Now, it is quite possible conducting a time series of this data point can give us various insights. However, that companies may change the way they used to report in the past, maybe because restructuring of businesses, or it could very well be possible that there is a new geography involved, and which is where they've decided to club data points around the same and start reporting things in that fashion. So from an analysis standpoint, it is important for you to first understand what those individual geography names indicate, and then accordingly move forward. So when you take a look at company's website, Ajanta Pharma, in our business section on the institutions part, remember the name of the segment was Africa Institution. Now, Africa Institution. So institutional business is, once again, based on the company's website, is based out of either India or Africa. And because it explicitly mentions that Africa institution, we can safely assume that the India institution would be part of the India subsegment, which you see here. So Africa institution would be this. So Africa institution is basically where Ajanta Pharma has been the first generic company to obtain WHO pre-qualified for anti-malarian drug. So anti-malaria drug is precisely what Ajanta Pharma has been providing, thanks to WHO. So technically speaking, WHO is who is ordering these drugs from Ajanta Pharma, and these drugs are eventually being delivered to Africa for anti-malaria as an anti-malarian drug. Now, there are quite a lot of wonderful insights here which are present. So like, for example, company has been innovating this product, and the company is one of the 6 major players supplying anti-malarian drug to the global fund. Now, this global fund is precisely sort of like a charitable initiative taken by World health organizations to eradicate various diseases from these uh, unfortunately not so developed or rather wealthy nations where the population seems to be struggling with these health disorders. Now, Ajanta Pharma is benefiting from this kind of arrangement. Now, why does it matter to us? Because when you take a look at the data, let me actually show you. So this is a time series data of these Africa institution segment over the years. Now, you can do a simple common size analysis. I think everyone is by now, you would be aware how to go about common size analysis. You simply take revenue and divide it by the overall revenue. Now, if you were to, or if you would want to verify the figures, you can take a look at this. So Africa institution is 271 crores for 2021, where 2845 crores is precisely the overall revenue. 271, if you divide it, you should get 10%. So the contribution of Africa institution over the years has decreased, whereas the overall revenue of the company seems to be increasing. However, in fact, if you were to take a look at a broader horizon, even before 2017, you would note that Africa institution was growing crazily. And why was that? Because it was backed by WHO funding. What happened was in 2017, the overall WHO funding for this anti-malaria initiative started decreasing. So in 2017, the overall funding which was made available was around $92 million. This is, by the way, from a research report, which you can follow. And moreover, initiating of the report, and moreover, in 2019, it was just 82 million. Now, the drop in funding was the first time it happened in 15 years. So since 15 years, the funding has been increasing, and guess who was actually the indirect benefiter of the same? So naturally, Ajanta Pharma, because precisely when the funding increases, a bigger chunk of that pie flows to Ajanta Pharma for anti-malarial drugs, which eventually is delivered to African continent. What happened was suddenly, the funding stopped, or rather, slowed down in 2017, and precisely why you see a drop in revenue after that. So from 2017 to 2019, you see a drop in revenue. So technically speaking, what's actually driving Ajanta Pharma's Africa institution segment is entirely WHO funding. Now, now you understand why it is so important to take a look at geographical location of the customer. So in case of the overall funding for the global fund, which caters to these kind of initiatives, if it goes down, then eventually it's Ajanta Pharma who will suffer. Moreover, let's say if there's another outbreak out there, and where that fund gets reallocated to those different initiatives. So precisely the funding allocation to malaria diseases and likewise should go down, and eventually Ajanta Pharma is the one who suffers from this. So precisely why taking a look at geographical location of, or rather geographical segmentation of a business makes so much sense. Because if you were to take a look at the revenue figures of Ajanta Pharma from, let's say 2008 to 2017, you would see a significant increase in those figures, mainly driven by the Africa institution segment. But not from 2017 to 21, because you see exact opposite trend here, because the Africa institution business seems to be slightly on the downside, whereas the overall revenue for the business seems to be on the upside. So now you may, find out various reasons why this is happening. As you can see, the emerging market seems to be growing, maybe a bigger share of the pie. You can also take a look at the year-on-year growth rate. Consistently, it seems to be generating quite a lot of growth rate, and as well as even USA, as you can see, the growth rate is quite high. However, the bigger chunk of the pie flows to emerging markets. So yeah, naturally, taking a look at why and how that is happening is something which will give you more insights around the background of the customers. Because if customers seems to be growing once again, and if that particular geography seems to be growing, you will see a growth in customer, and when customer grows, eventually your business would grow. Now that's a wonderful example for everyone to take a look at. Another example is, at times, looking at geographical revenue may also provide us with detailed insights regarding business capabilities, as well as limitations in terms of what are the costing and where they can sell. So one such brilliant example is cement industry. Now, not just talking about one particular cement player, we're talking about industry, because how exactly cement industry works. So cement is one of the lowest value to weight ratio commodity. Like, it's quite cheap given the weight. So which is where transportation cost is huge in case if you want to sell in geographies which are very, very far from your grinding unit, because precisely where your cement is created is grinding unit, and grinding units are located near the limestone mines, because again the transportation cost would be huge. So grinding units unfortunately are located to limestone mines, and because limestone mines, the grinding units are very much close to limestone mines, eventually you have a limited circumference or a particular area within which you can sell, given the costing of transportation. So eventually, the geography to which you cater to boils down to only one thing: where your mines are located. And these mines, they have a lease, because the government usually conducts auctions, and these mines are granted to these corporates based on auctions. So technically speaking, once the lease is expired, everyone bids for that lease, and whosoever gets that lease is the owner of that geography where they are going to sell. So technically speaking, the geography where a company will be selling its product is only function of one thing: limestone mine allocation, lease allocation. So whosoever gets that lease for howsoever long period is going to control that geography for that particular long period. So it's a wonderful data point for one to take a look at. So like I said, you really need to focus on what kind of geography you are catering to, and that geography is going to drive your business. So this is one wonderful angle for you to take a look at. Another very good angle to take a look at is, not always this geographical data which is provided in annual report will be useful to you. Do you know why? One such wonderful example is PI Industries. Before we move to PI Industries, let me explain. So how just think about this, like how a business would be sourcing this information. Precisely, the geographical location is the place where the company is selling its product. But does that always mean it's the same place where your product gets consumed? No. Why? It's quite possible that people, they themselves are dealers. It's just that they are buying those products from you and they are eventually reselling it somewhere else. Now, if you were to, so who's actually your driver? Is it the dealer or is it the end consumers? It's the end consumers, right? And that information dealer will never give to you. Otherwise, you would simply bypass the dealer and eventually cater to the customers. So technically speaking, the geographical location data for such businesses is geographical location of the dealers, but not really the geographical location of your end consumers. So ideally, from an analysis standpoint, from a forecasting standpoint, like that particular geography is going to grow at this rate, so eventually you can estimate your revenue to be growing at that rate. You really need to understand, is that really your end customer? If he or she is not your end customer, then that geography plays no role whatsoever, because that guy is simply acting like a dealer. He's buying from you and he's reselling that particular product to some other geography which you are completely unaware of. One such example is PI Industries. Now, PI Industries, let me show you the geographical breakup. So this is the segmental breakup which you can see, which is available. Now, one may argue that, North America seems to be a huge customer for PI Industries. That looks great for us. Yay. However, when you actually, one of the analysts was smart enough to ask this question in the con calls. When asked in con call, the management was very, very clear and explicit about these things, that, the geographical breakup is not really relevant for them, because technically their product is eventually resold to different locations and different countries across the globe, to which they have no visibility whatsoever. So taking a look at geographical breakup wouldn't really make sense, in case if you're trying to make assumptions around the fact that if that particular end geography is going to grow at this rate, at what rate your business is going to grow. Because trust me, dealers' growth rate is not really important to us. What matters is to whom that dealer is actually catering to. And because that data is not really available, because dealer would never disclose these data points, and company doesn't really care, because as long as company is able to sell it to dealer, that's where the information transparency stops, which is where the business has to report to whom they are selling. They don't really care, which is why, at times they are very, very explicit in terms of mentioning this in the annual report. Take a look at this. The company is domiciled in India. The amount of its revenue from external customers are broken down by the location of the customers. It doesn't really necessarily mean that these are the end consumers of these particular products. So now that's a very interesting angle to take a look at when it comes to analyzing revenues. Hopefully, guys, you liked this session. In case you did, so please do like our video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. For more such informative content, you can always refer to our Instagram handle, Finacle_Shah. We have actually quite a lot of good series available there: valuation series, business analysis series, entrepreneurship series. Moreover, you can always take a look at our YouTube channel as well for, again, like I said, for more informative content. You can read this content on our forum as well. Do subscribe to the same. And in case if you have any questions, please feel free to type it in the comment section. We'll be happy to answer. Now, in the next session, something really exciting is coming up where we'll be talking about seasonality in revenues and how to analyze that data point. That is going to be our last angle of analysis of revenue, one of the few which we are trying to cover in the series, not all, but yes, that's going to be a last lecture in the revenue series. So stay tuned. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next session. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great day.